Lately it's looking like everything perfect. Out the mud with it, I put the work in. You can find me where the turf is. Pin precision like a surgeon. Bad ones used to curve me. Showing up to the show when the curve split. She know that I'm worth it. I'm finna go from aerial. I got the hit stash, got a bracelet for impact. Real tricky, quick to flip a pretty penny to a thick stack. Quick stat. Think fast and I talk real. I give a about how they feel. Me and Zay drop the pro.
That's actually working. Zekro is finally able to pay off here. Zay drops down. He's fine.
I've been the man with the blueprint. I won't stop till I own every brick. I used to lay out in the lawn just to feel the world spin on its axis. Now I got the access and the last laugh, got it off of the passion. I keep it 100 on the dash now that we got us some track.
Hello, party people. Welcome to another day of NA Challengers here as Split 2 continues on with its very first week, and we make it to our final day. But before we talk about the action we're going to see on stream here in just a minute, and the action we've already seen, I want to remind you guys again at home to join the fan zone, because in the past you could just ask silly questions to the players we're interviewing, but we've added more functionality. You can now get player configs as well, so you'd be a ding dong not to join the fan zone. Head over to pks.gg/fanzone for more information. Jump in on the action, and maybe you will get your answer to a weird question like, who would you send to the moon? I don't know why you guys want to know that, but you do, and we're going to let you ask it. But let's bring in our casters for the day, speaking specifically of I Hold Shift and Mr. Dust Moret. Dust, I know you have eagle eyes on the Valorant scene. You've probably been spying up the games throughout this week. Just overall impressions from the teams we've already seen play this week.
I mean, nothing too crazy surprising so far, I feel like. I feel like, you know, the only real matchup that I felt could kind of go either way was the matchup perhaps between like TSM and Shopify, with Vanity now coming on board as the IGL of that team. I thought that could be an interesting matchup. But other than that, I feel like things kind of went as expected. Like the favorites have pretty much won every match so far, with the TSM match really being the only one that kind of went the distance. So, I mean, right now it's kind of like, you know, just routine right now, right?
Well, we can take a look at the standings just so we can see how the teams are stacking up against one another across the groups. Again, a reminder, the groups got shuffled. 3 teams from B went to A and vice versa, so we end up with the groups we have here. It was TSM who picked up the win, M80 as well finding a win, but it was not an easy one to say the least, as they survived with just a +5 round differential. Then over in Group B, things were a little bit spicier. Moist Moguls absolutely obliterated Mad Lions, and Shift the Guard also crushing FaZe yesterday.
Yeah, you pointed out the 2 matches that actually kept my attention for the majority of yesterday. The tight matchup between M80 and Turtle Troop. I think Turtle Troop's looking improved coming into split number 2 after their experience is now starting to kind of get behind the squad. And then, like you mentioned, Moist Moguls and the Guard both kind of beating the brakes off of FaZe Clan and Mad Lions. Definitely surprising, I would say, about FaZe not really putting up too much of a fight versus the Guard. I thought the map set was going to be fine for them. I thought that the roster was going to be, again, just a solid possible matchup for these two. But the Guard is looking like they're in prime form, as you would expect, coming off of a very successful first split.
And a reminder, too, when you look at these groups, I think it's easy for us to think, oh, yeah, you know, like top 4 from each group make it into the bracket. This is standard. Well, not really. So obviously in the first split, the top 4 from each group would make it into the mid-season face-off, but we're past that point now. We're looking at playoffs, and we have to factor in the first split, mid-season face-off, and the second split, which means points, baby. Points are all that matters. This currency is sweeter than gold, and you can see we've got M80 currently sitting at the top. Really, it's those top 3 teams that would have to absolutely bungle this second group stage in split 2 in order to not make it to playoffs, because what's going to happen is the top 8 teams will be joining us in the playoffs. So as long as basically the teams do what they did in the last split and no one steps up, if we still see Turtle Troop, Shopify, Mad Lions, and OR Esports struggle, this could effectively be where we end up with regards to the teams that will be joining us in playoffs. And playoffs, don't forget, Ascension on the line, Shift.
Indeed. I think the biggest thing is that gap between 7 and 10 is really, really tight. It looks like Moist Moguls are going to really separate themselves coming into this split. They look really solid, as we could just previously talked about, but seeing how tight the gap is by points and just kind of putting a little bit of a power ranking, so to speak, on the teams that currently find themselves between 7th and 10th. This is a super crucial set of group matches they have to go through, especially like you mentioned, a restructure of those groupings to kind of, even out, so to speak, this last 5 weeks as far as potential strength of each group versus each other. But the fact of the matter is, it's anyone's game, and those small missteps from teams like Turtle Troop maybe having a winnable series in front of them, that could ultimately hurt them when it comes to possibly securing a top 8 spot when it gets to playoffs.
Well, we still got a few more matches here for the week, so we can take a look at the schedule for today, our final day here for our first week of Split 2. As we will see some new teams, and by new I mean new rosters to a certain degree. Teams making changes coming out of a frustrating first split, looking at DSG and OR Esports, who are both coming in today with changes. And also, surprisingly, Oxygen coming in today with a bit of a change. We'll talk about that when we come to that match. But I would say, looking at that second game, Dust, DSG and Oxygen should be close, but G2 OR Esports, it feels like we know how that one's going to end.
We do. I mean, in the sense that OR Esports was unable to find any wins in the first split and only actually won like 3 maps total the entire split. So definitely really did struggle. But they did pick up a couple of, solid names in Pancakes and Physics to replace Lear and Pierre. So maybe those changes, as well as some time to work together, has been able to, help them improve things. But certainly, I mean, they sit 12th right now in the circuit. They are going to have to go off in this group stage to be able to gain that ground back and have a shot at like even the A seed. Like it would be hard for them to attain at this point. So they got a lot of work to do, and G2's a tough first task ahead of you as they're ranked in the top 3 right now.
Let's not forget, though, that team did open up their group stage against M80 last time. It feels like these guys unfortunately just keep drawing that really short straw. And they actually took a map off of them. So there's still a world where this could happen. Obviously, slightly different roster than what we saw before. Could argue that it's an improvement with the power that they bring in and the experience, but we'll get to that later today. Let's focus up on our first game of the day. This one is exciting because it's Oxygen versus DSG. And Shift, this is an Oxygen roster that we got to experience during the mid-season face-off. They had a great run. But this Disguise team is a completely different team, as they have brought in El Diablo and Nerve to try to bolster up what they were able to do both in Split 1 and Mid-Season Face-Off.
Yeah, and a lot of Disguised fans will obviously still feel a little bit wounded off of the unfortunate seeding situation that kind of had them playing up against M80 and then immediately down to playing up against TSM in their face-off, or their Mid-Season Face-Off. But I think the thing about this new roster is it brings in, I would say, just more overall kill potential. And that's, I think, the biggest thing about this team overall. Because when you were looking at some of the statistics for the squad as a full team, the things that they were missing out on were rounds that you should be winning when they're on full buy. They were the second to worst team in North America last season, not even winning 50% of their full buy rounds. Also, when they were playing up against other teams in full versus full rounds in particular, where both teams had all the full purchase, they only won 40% of those rounds. That's not gonna cut it when you're playing up against major squads. So bringing in these 2 new players, taking care of kind of this Nerve and Ye situation where we're gonna figure out very quickly what they want to do in terms of their overall roles, you have to be thinking first and foremost about slate potential when you're at full purchase.
Yeah, Disguise is going to be a very interesting story indeed. I mean, obviously they bring on Ye, a guy who helped lead Optic to a win at Masters Reykjavik, a second place finish at Berlin, as well as a second place at Champions. A guy who's very known for playing duelists as well as having that history on Chamber. Then you bring in Nerve, a former Sonics and Cosmic Divide player who's mostly known for playing controllers, but has played some initiators in the past. And we obviously know that those 2 should be bringing additional firepower to the squad, particularly Ye, which is something that they really lacked last split. They didn't really have like a true star player who would really stand out, and the one guy that they did have that did stand out, Exalt, kind of left the team halfway through the split. So I feel like they were really in a need for firepower, and now they've gotten it. But now it's about how do you put it all together, because I'll be honest with you, Clear was disappointing in comparison to the rest of the duelists that kind of took a step up. When you think of guys like Pony or Sim or Oxy, like those guys were representing this next generation of duelists, and they were looking very impressive throughout the split and throughout the mid-season face-off. Clear kind of lagged behind a lot of those players, but he's still on the starting lineup. So what do? Do you keep Clear in that position and find a new role for Ye, or is Clear going to have to pick up a new role while Ye, be the star duelist of the team like we kind of expect him to be?
The other thing about it was I was actually, for this Disguise team in Split 1, really impressed with how Riku stepped in and locked down for this squad on the defensive side. So him not being part of the picture, again, just compounds on that role question that Dust is bringing up as far as who's going to step into that. And more so, not just who's going to fulfill the role, but can they actually fill the shoes of Riku, which is something that I wouldn't think I was going to be saying at the beginning when we saw him first time being entered into this roster.
Let's be fair, too. There's probably pieces to that puzzle that we just don't have. So we're coming in making a lot of assumptions that it's performance-based only, but maybe, I think it was his girlfriend who tweeted out how he's like doing all of these things while also juggling real-life responsibility. Maybe he's still committed to that real-life responsibility and can't commit to the full-time. Who knows? There's so many possible reasons for things to break down the way that they do. And I do think there's still potential for Clear to find an avenue for success in this team. I think it means shifting off the duelist role. And that's going to obviously put Ye in that position because that's something this team desperately needs. They were really struggling after they lost Exalt, finding those opening kills. Now this team potentially has one of the best opening killers currently in NA Valorant.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, like, when you look at Clear, the eye test tells you that he has the mechanics. Like, his aim is quite good. I think what hurt him was the inexperience, the, like, mid-round decision-making, like, lacking the intuition on when to try to go for something or when to kind of fall back and play more passive. And some of that's just going to come down to getting reps and getting coached and, like, obviously having a veteran in-game leader like Steel kind of help direct you. It was a big step up in competition for him. He had never really played at this level before. He came largely from obscurity. So I think it was just a giant leap in level of competition that he's still having to adjust to. But I am curious, what other role is this guy going to play? Because when you look at his track record in like the lower tier scene, this guy was basically always playing duelist. I mean, that has been his knack. I mean, he played a little bit of Viper, a little bit of Chamber, but I mean, Chamber's not even meta anymore. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how the roles shake down for this team.
Now on the flip side, we have an Oxygen team that coming into Split 1, we didn't really look at them all that much. We kind of disregarded them. I think a lot of people brushed them aside as not a bottom seed, but one of the lower seeds. They obviously stepped up big time in ways that I really don't think anyone could have predicted. And we were actually talking about it before we went live. There is a world where Moist Moguls and Oxygen Esports was our upper final at mid-season face-off. Both teams had close best-of-3 series against M80 and the Guard, respectively, and almost won. So Oxygen, they had a great run. They ended up going down into the lower semifinals where they lost to G2 and another 3-mapper. But it is important to note, they made a change, and I don't know why they made a change, but today you'll see a temporary player as their assistant coach, Rustin, will be standing in. Brandy Savage apparently not on the roster anymore, and Redux will be joining the team, I think, for next week's match. So it's a little bit of an odd shift coming in, but that's what we're going to see this week.
And I hesitate, again, just want to put this out. This is not just, I don't want to make this feel like it's a Rustin, like this is a temporary thing for Oxygen are not going to be the true Oxygen. It's going to be hard for us to get a full read as far as what this team has to offer, but I think you're right when it comes down to, when we did watch this Oxygen squad last split, and especially in the face-off, they had tons of potential, looked like. Just a couple of miscues that kind of led them astray versus teams like G2 during their first split. So it'll be really interesting, I think, to see not only does, what does Oxygen do today with Rustin kind of in the mix, but also with Randy out, what are you really going to be able to kind of figure out when it comes to the things that were plaguing you last season, which never really felt like it was on any one particular individual, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and now we're trying to take a look at a couple of the star players of the team, and Pony and Virno. Virno, of course, when you combine Split 1 in the midseason face-off, he was ranked number 4 in KD, ranked number 6 in ADR, and ranked number 6 in KPR. Then, of course, Pony also doing really well. He was next to Virno in the top 12 for ACS, but also was number 3 in first kills per round, and you see some solid numbers across the board. Not on the screen, but also needing to be shout out is Scuba, who has also been a fantastic controller player for this team, and really has kind of added to Pony and Virno to be like a really tight core 3. Also, just to add an extra note, Redux is going to be coming in next week. The reason being he is not yet 16 years old. He turned 16 this weekend, actually. So happy early birthday to Redux. And we'll see him next week. And that'll be interesting long term because he is also a huge duelist player, and they already have Pony fulfilling that role. So that'll be curious to see how Oxygen evolves long term throughout the split.
Well, we did have a chance to sit down with Oxygen and with DSG to talk about this upcoming match. Let's take a look.
I'd say they're a really good team with a lot of talented individuals and like a lot of players that can just take over a game, like Scuba, Pony, Verno, you know, like all those players are just super talented individuals that like know how to just win you a game, you know, like with kills, whether it be clutches, like anything like that of nature. But they're a really good team. I'm excited to play against them.
I mean, I've always played against EA in the past, and he's just another player on the other team. You don't really make a game plan for playing against one player. So, I mean, we're just going to stick to whatever we think is right and, you know, play our game and just trust that we have enough protocols and team play and comms on the day that, you know, that we're going to be great, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we beat them in the open qualifier, I guess, to make it the challengers. But then they've been progressing and we've been making roster changes. We have to hope that we're the best version of ourselves and they're the nervous, shaky, inconsistent looking version of themselves.
I mean, I think the last time we played them in the qualifier, we were kind of struggling with a lot of communication and stressing too much. I think we'll be a lot better this time around and also way more adaptable, I guess. When we played them the first time around, we didn't really adapt to what they were doing and we kind of just looked lost. So, I mean, hopefully we'll be able to adapt this time around and get the dub.
Yeah, I think just playing our game, trusting each other as teammates, like getting the ball rolling in the first half, just like collecting the momentum and just trusting each other, like listening to the comms, being on the same page at all the times, like all those keys are just like, it's how we're gonna win the match.
Yay and Clear are definitely the X factors on the team. If either one of them are shooting really well on the day, it's gonna be a tough match. So
Best of luck on the battlefield.
good luck.
Best of luck. That's all I'm gonna say. Best of luck.
A lot of good sportsmanship there towards the end. Sometimes we hear a little bit of smack, a little bit of trash talk, but just good luck all around, whether it's tongue-in-cheek or not. I'll let you be the judge. But they said it. The players to watch out for. Yay and Clear. You know, we just talked about this, Dust. This was a player who, I don't want to say he was underwhelming, because I don't feel like that's fair. We didn't really have any expectations coming into the split for what we would get out of Clear, but it does feel like he was very hot and cold. He started out a little bit better, then he trailed off, maybe partially because of the Exalt move. So the fact that players are still giving Clear that level of respect shows that there's something there, because like you said, he passes the eye test. He has the mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's two things. I think, for one, it was only underwhelming due to the comparison of people like Pony, Sim, and Oxy, who were in a similar position to him at the beginning of the season, kind of coming out of obscurity and performing at a very high level very quickly, and Clear wasn't able to quite match that pace. But yes, again, you know, I've always said this in every match I've talked about with him. Mechanically, he does seem like he's very gifted, just like everyone else. He just hasn't been as consistent at finding impact and handling this level of competition so far. But that's not to say that he can't be molded into that once he gets, you know, some experience under his belt. So it'll just be now the question of what role does he play on this team going forward, and what happens with everyone else. I mean, we know Steel's pretty flexible between like controllers and sentinels. You know, we know that some of the other guys can pivot when need be. So yeah, we'll have to just see how they decide to shake it all up.
And roles will also be dictated on the map, which is the perfect segue into the map picks here for the series. We got to see where we're going before we can start talking about roles, agents, comps, all that sort of stuff, because we've seen already this split teams swapping roles around a little more aggressively than maybe we would have anticipated. Even just looking at yesterday at TSM, playing Corey off of the Duelist for the first time on that roster. He had only ever really done that a few times. We also saw Mata playing Fade, which was kind of like, what is happening?
True.
So teams are getting very explorative, or exploratory, I guess would be the appropriate word, with their agent compositions, and it's based on how they decide to approach a map.
And the interesting thing is the first map is Haven, which, you know, you think about this from both sides. First, for Oxygen, Randy Savage, when he was playing on a Sentinel role, would be the solo lockdown player over towards like C, for instance. Who's going to fulfill that role? We're going to learn very, very quickly as the Oxygen will start on defense. But on the other side, I'm just a bit surprised that Disguise let this map through initially. I mean, they have not played any Icebox, so I guess in certain regards, if that's your hard veto, that's your hard veto. But I mean, they really got worked on this map by M80 two separate times. They had the close loss to TSM in the last week of the group stage of Split 1, but It'll be really interesting, I think, to kind of take all these different pieces of what agents are we going to see? Will there be specific roles that are brought in just for this particular map? And then also just the macro sense of, can we see improvement here? Not just from one side or the other, but I think for both here, considering that there's a significant role swap for Oxygen, not having Randy on the Sentinel, and then Disguised at 0-4 in the map since they have played it in Challengers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just tough with Disguise because they are basically a brand new team at this point. I mean, when you swap two players, that is a dramatic change. And so a lot of their prior map pool information, I don't want to say it's voided, but it doesn't necessarily give us the most accurate read on who they are today. We're just going to have to figure that out over time. But as far as Oxygen goes, I mean, yeah, Haven's definitely a strong pick for them. They have a 91% win rate on the map since December of last year. When you look at qualifiers and off-season events and just throughout Split 1 and the mid-season face-off, they have looked fantastic. And, you know, Pearl has been a little bit dodgy for them, though, if we're honest. But the Ascent has, you know, usually looked pretty sharp. So I think Oxygen's probably pretty happy with the map pool, and Disguise, who freaking knows, man. Like, it's one of those things where their roster's so different, we can't really tell what their strengths are going to be. But Pearl certainly used to be a strength for Disguise with their old lineup. And so, you know, if they can maintain that, definitely gives them a good chance to, you know, do well this series.
Important to note, you know, Shift, you mentioned results. We talked about OR at the beginning of this show because they're going to be playing later today. Their closest game throughout the group stages was actually against Disguised. It was 14-12 win on Haven, 15-13 loss on Pearl. So they were really close to actually winning that in a 3-map series over Disguised. 2 maps go to overtime, and it's the 2 maps we're going to see here to start things off. So if we see Disguised play the way they played in that series today, that is problematic. However, like Dust is saying, there is a lot to basically just guess on right now. We don't know what role Clear is going to be playing. We honestly don't even know what Ye is going to be playing. We're assuming Duelist, and I think that's a fair assumption, but you never know. Like,
if you want to get the most out of him, that's what you do, right?
Sure.
Yeah, of course. But there's a world where maybe he wants to play an Initiator. Maybe he's tired of playing Duelists.
I will say this. People forget
if
this.
Daddy Ye comes in and goes, I don't want to play Jet, you're going to be like, no, sorry, you have to. Like, he's kind of going to get to do what he wants to do to a certain degree, I imagine.
People forget this a lot. I want to bring this up very quickly. So he was obviously very well known for his chamber when he was on Optic, and obviously has a history of playing Jet. But what people forget is when he was on Andbox, he actually played a significant amount of Sage and Breach to a very high level. So it is not as if Ye is some type of one-trick pony. It's just that's the role that he played for that team, and it obviously was working. You don't fix something that's not broken, but it's not like Ye isn't capable of flexing. And I think people really overlook that. And I want to really, like, you know, tell people to watch out on having that type of conclusion about him.
I would actually argue this roster has a ton of flex potential in general.
I think so.
One of the few players that I think is probably the most rigid is not necessarily who you'd think. I think it's Gangsta. Gangsta played pretty much Sova from the beginning. And he was, at one point in time, world class. Like, one of the best Sovas in North America, incredibly talented in the role. And I don't want to look at the last split and say he fell off, because I don't feel like that's even close to fair. But for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking in Split 1, his role as the Sova. So I'm curious to see if he's even going to see a change. Like, obviously, he started to filter in some other initiators, but he's primarily known for his Sova play. It's what he's always been really, really good at. But the rest of the team, you mentioned it coming into this, Steel, I think, can play pretty much whatever he wants to play. Like, Steel will slot around into any role. It doesn't really matter. I feel like Clear can probably play more roles than we've seen him play at this level of play. So there's certainly a world where maybe Clear ends up going to a Sentinel, could end up playing an Initiator or a Controller. There's just so many opportunities for this roster to try and juggle roles around. I think Ye has the mechanical skill that really, like, he's going to make any position look good. But yeah, sure, you're kind of handicapping him if you take him off a Duelist, because he has so much pop-off potential with that role.
I think the one thing, just to kind of zoom out a touch from my perspective on all of this, is I would hate to see Disguised start to kind of run backwards here, where the team before was starting to really move together, come cohesively. They were looking really solid as a full 5-man squad. I would hate for this to now just all of a sudden turn into Ye go kill things, turn this into the Ye show, because I don't think that will work against the highest teams that are out there. You're talking about your G2s, your guards, and your M80s. So that's my only little point on it as we look at Agent Select.
Yeah, it is time for the Agent Select. We'll see what these teams are going to bring to the table here for our first map. We'll finally get a taste of what the roles are going to look like for Disguise, which means it's my time to bid you farewell. I'll see you on the other side of map 1.
Thank you very much, Mr. Markbach. And now, the
first question answered.
Yep. So the question that we posed is already off the table. Ye's going to go straight in jet. Not really a surprise. And okay. Now
this was my guess, actually.
Yeah.
I want it to be known on the record before we went live. I said I think Clear goes controller. So
it's true. He did say that.
So that is what happens. Steel flexes to the initiator. Obviously, everything else kind of is what you'd expect with Nerve coming in as a Sentinel player. Obviously, he's a guy who had played plenty of Sentinel. The dude actually has like a crazy agent pool when you look at his past teams. So he definitely could basically play anything for this squad. He is going to go ahead and pick up the Killjoy. And then on the other side, well, it's what we expected.
Indeed the case. Same composition, and yeah, the only real swap up being Randy Savage out. Rustin currently filling in, and he will be running that same Sentinel on the Killjoy. So I think the question here defensively for Oxygen from a more team side focus is, do they trust Rustin to go off by himself, or does he call for a little bit of help early? Based on the initial setup, it looks like Rustin is going to try to put a setup over towards the A site, while Disguise look to stack up towards at least mid for now.
Yeah, definitely a lot of players playing outside A and in the window rooms, maybe looking to put some mid pressure on right away with some type of dash play to get the spike into B early, but also could just be looking to watch for A pushes as well. Oh my lord.
Okay, that's a one way to start. A little team shot frenzy action on the way. That's good for first blood. Fault line allows Ye to move a little bit further out, but no, Mitch will deny. So we go 4v4. Lots of damage also tallied against Disguise. Mitch gonna follow up, try to work his way on in, and he actually does get elimination by way of the aftershock. So good kills for Oxygen on this post plant. Still have to get through Steel and Nerve. Steel on one side. Not going to be revealed by this recon bolt. Mitch looking to check the corner, and he actually will find a very nearsighted breach in front of him. Nerve, last one left, cut down, and it's 4 kills for Mitch as Oxygen take the pistol.
Yeah, really nice orchestrated retake there from Oxygen, and great recovery after losing the opening duel to their player on top of the site. Ye kind of extends into C-Link, trying to look for a little bit extra. I would have preferred them just kind of getting control of Garage instead. I think that would have given them a better out. Obviously, you don't want to be pigeonholed on the site post plant or stuck just in middle. Being able to threaten the links is like really huge for slowing down retakes, but yeah, I would have liked to see them kind of pivot more to just Garage control as opposed to just trebucheting Ye into the back line into a tough duel. But regardless, really well done by Oxygen. We're going to see the force up, though, from DSG.
Yep. Enough kills, plus the spike going down gets us 3 Stingers and 2 Sheriffs. Also important to note that Oxygen's pistol success was significant in split 1. But DSG has been known to do this, and Rustin just shuts the door with the judge. All of the utility missing, and then a helpful paranoia helps Rustin get 3. Spike down, Nerve, last one left.
Yeah, there was a clear game plan for DSG on that round, but there was a very clear clotheslining that took place by the judge of Rustin. As, I mean, he just popped off with the judge there. They didn't really have the utility to clear him off the corner. And so the shotgun reigns supreme. Spike is down. Nerves alone with the sheriff. Spike's not in his possession. He's in for a bad time. You know what I mean? I mean,
okay, almost takes down 2, but Verno will put aside any antics.
Indeed. So good start from Oxygen. Obviously, with that force up DSG, maybe you're gonna have to chill out a little bit in this round, so to speak. But yeah, they just never really cleared this corner.
No, and that last paranoia was so well timed as well. So well on to Scuba, already at 3 assists off this Omen through 2 rounds. Light armor will still in play. A couple of the sheriffs and a couple of the marshals, so still some kill potential on the other side for Disguised.
Absolutely. Definitely some chances with the sniper in Ye's hands, even a marshal, to be very powerful.
And our first look over towards C-Long. Disguise taking some early damage on the initial poke and prod. Pony up top did see the foot of clear. That's good for first blood. And Disguise kind of left to try to figure out what they want to do here with that failed lurk.
Yeah, Nerve already down halfway and clear off the board. So huge advantage for Oxygen, who also already had the firepower and utility advantage. And it just kind of continues to pile on as DSG start to pivot towards a little bit of A lobby control here. Obviously, they had to be careful. They weren't here in the early rounds. They had to spend some time clearing out some corners, making sure things are safe. They still have a little bit of utility to use here, but no smokes to block off any real angles. So it's going to be a tough one to get done here. I like, well, that's a weird pairing. Just standing next to the double stack together.
Nerve now 2 off, a lockdown with that orb collected. Yay once again denied off the lurk. It's Pony who tallies a second kill. And now it's on to these shoulder by shoulder Oxygen defenders to try to work disguise off of a plant, which they will voluntarily give up, surprisingly. Martial shots coming through. Scuba tallies up another kill on the retake attempt. Fault line on the way in. Steel stuck in a corner, and Oxygen will have no problem cleaning things up, only losing 1 in the process.
Yeah, I think it was a cool move because obviously if someone would have swung sewers, that would have been an awkward battle to try to take with 2 guys just there next to each other. You're kind of spoiled for choice on a target to pick, and they also were able to make sure that no one crossed back sewers in the post plant, so they could kind of just, you know, isolate under heaven, long A, use their numbers, use their firepower advantage just to roll in together and get the job done. So obviously Pony doing some good work to get a couple of kills at middle to, you know, get Oxygen out in front, and then the rest of the crew finishes the job. But now we get our first real test because DSG is going to be fully bought here for the most part. They had the lockdown available as well, the only ult on the table as things sit, though Mitch is just 1 away from his Rolling Thunder. And here we go.
There may be some opportunities for Oxygen with this setup to try to get aggressive through C long. And yeah, look at that. Pony on the map already through, but Clear shuts it down. Very avidly watching the flank. That's going to allow Disguise with numbers to start considering a heavy A push, but this is to exactly where Rustin's setup is. And Mitch is going to collect the orb at C. Also earn a Rolling Thunder, which could be used for retake, which, well, they may need it. But Rustin in the corner. Not bad. Gets a double. Verno follows up with another one of his own. So all of a sudden, it becomes a 1v2, very winnable here for Mitch.
It is winnable considering how low of health Ye is on right now. Full utility still pretty much available here for Mitch. He's about to get the fault line in a couple of seconds, but obviously once the utility is spent, then, you know, the threat of surprise is now gone. I like DSG are sticking together here at long A, not allowing any 1v1s for Mitch, and that's where the clutch now becomes a lot tougher to pull off.
Yeah, this is just taking so much time for Mitch to clear everything out. And just as soon as he does, he's going to watch this A-long play be fulfilled by the double stack. Oh my goodness, Mitch with the transfer. Timing, though, I don't know. It may have taken just a little bit too long. It's going to be tight. No, Mitch will get the 1v2 and the eBay clutch to keep Oxygen flawless 4-0 up.
Bro, that is impressive. I thought he was done for. Like you said, it was taking a very long time for him to clear his way to this position. But then he spots them both immediately. And Ye was just so low in health that, you know, didn't have to commit too much to him to be able to get to the next target. So there you go, a 4-0 start for Oxygen. DSG, some struggles there. They weren't really able to get on site and even get their ult in play. Ye, even though he has Blade Storm, elected to buy Vandal, but I think he just sold it back to get the Blade Storm out.
Better maybe toss it over to a teammate, one of the two. Shock darts in towards B, trying to clear off any utility. Dark cover also blocking this C-sided link. Yay, looking for the entry. There's the recon bolt. And not gonna go for the dash. So DSG kind of hit the brakes here for a second and reconsider.
Yeah, they're hoping for a reveal that he could then dash onto with the Blade Storm, but it wasn't there. Oxygen play off-site, not really allowing any information to be gained. Now, Gangsta has to put the Drone out there. He's going to spot Pony with the Operator in sewers. That's going to prompt Ye to go ahead and start trying to push onto B, knowing that the Op is not around. Is able to get on top of the side. Has a couple of guys in the corner with the Paranoia, but he still can't find the frag. Rustin, the sub coming up huge the last couple of rounds.
It's been huge pretty much from start to finish so far. Rolling Thunder comes. Inferno gets one before being traded. Rustin for his own trade, plus another. Rustin on 3. Oh my goodness. Clear. 1v4, no spike. Vandal and an opportunity maybe to isolate. Rustin dealing damage through the walls, and Clear gets backed off the window positioned by the Paranoia.
30 seconds
Follow-up attempt. Now blocked by dark cover, and with time becoming an issue, I just don't know where you go here if you're Clear.
To the next round.
And so he'll go.
I just wanted to make it clear. I mean, there's not much you can do in a 1 versus 4 when you don't have spike possession and, you know, Oxygen's that tuned up. And dude, Rustin popping off 8-1, the super sub coming in huge right now, shutting down some of these attacks. And the craziest thing is he's shutting down Ye in a lot of these situations, which makes it that much spicier from an Oxygen perspective. And now the ults are starting to build for Oxygen. Lockdown available for Rustin. Verno just one away from Hunter's Fury. Scuba just one away from the Shadows. And Pony one away, or a couple away from Bladestorm. So, I mean, they're about to have a huge edge here.
Absolutely. 3 Sheriffs, 2 Stingers on the other side for Disguise, still holding on to a lockdown, and now Hunter's Fury. And this will be our first full commit in towards C. Hunter's Fury out, trying to clear some space, but Scuba in the opposite corner does well to get the first and second, trying to keep his fly ball. Just teleports away, and a little bait and switch as Mitch is able to follow up. They're still with the Sheriff, still trying to deal some damage, but it's now just down to Gangsta. And what will have to be a 1v3 with a Stinger. And if you can't take it by my candor, you don't feel all that hopeful that that's going to come through. But we'll have a chance at one player nearby. Okay. First comes through, but no. The follow-up after the tag, too easy, and Oxygen now 6-0 up.
Yeah, again, bro, it's one of those things where Oxygen, we talked about this. They were 4th coming out of the mid-season face-off. They were one of the strongest teams outside of, like, the big names like M80, The Guard, and G2. They have a very strong core 3 of fraggers in Virno, Scuba, and Pony. And Rustin is doing work right now as the sub. So, I mean, they are really coming together. We talked about how they were one of the more coordinated teams strategically in challengers as well. And so it's one of those things where DSG was just hoping that they were going to be able to jet diff them, but yeah, it's not going to happen. Like, Oxygen's a very coordinated team. They know how to work retakes together. They know how to, you know, play the numbers and not get too crazy. And so DSG are going to have to work a little bit harder in their coordination to start finding some openings here, because right now, you know, Steel's not been able to really do much. Clear has struggled as well off the starting blocks. And I mean, Ye hasn't really able to have too much impact. He's kind of just been getting owned. But I think it does come to economics, though, too. Like, they did force up and it failed, and they've been on 3 saves because of that. So that's part of the issue, but
yeah, I was going to say, they've really only had 2 full buy rounds, and one of those was with a Bladestorm from Ye, and we were talking about, you know, not getting the information they needed to convert. So this is one of those rounds where, okay, now all of a sudden you got to just get your wheels underneath you, get your bearings straight, and come out with a game plan here on how you want to use things, like potentially this lockdown in the face of Virno, who does have a Hunter's Fury that could counter, plus you could also get a little Venn diagram here with Rustin's own lockdown. So lots of things to think about here, but for Disguised, this is where you start getting back on track.
As Pony's wasting no time getting aggressive at middle, trying to use the Hunter's Fury as a way forward. He doesn't get his frag, though. Gangsta with a nice counter there. And Hunter's Fury doesn't come up with much at all. Clears in the back lines, unknown to Oxygen, gets Verno. And so here we go. DSG cooking as they have C control.
Yeah, both teams looking to kind of throw a monkey wrench into the system here. You saw the early aggression, obviously, from Pony, but it was from the shadows from Clear to get in the back line of his own. So aggression for aggression. It's DSG who come out with the first eliminations. Rustin coming on in, finds Clear on the cross for free. Aftershock will push Steel out, but Steel provides the double, and then Gangsta follows up. Clean stuff from Disguise as they're on the board with some conviction.
Yeah, finally DSG putting around the board, countering the mid-aggression, getting Clear into the back line with the ult, finding, you know, the pretty quick 5-on-3 and C control. I have to say, a little bit of a question mark for me when Clear just kind of walks towards Garage and just gets blindsided. Seemed like there was maybe some miscommunication there, but winds up not mattering. They do secure the round, but it's something to keep an eye on for later, as they now do have 2 more ults brought to the table. Both teams having a lockdown, actually, but still also now has that Rolling Thunder to put into play on an execute or to shut down a retake.
Now Ye with the op in his hand for the first time. Will be revealed by the recon bolt. That will push the offense off of lobby, and on the same foot, Oxygen will take a little bit of an aggressive stance here through C long, although they will be measured and monitored by the alarm bot in their way if they want to go any further.
Yeah, right now they're kind of just watching the Garage here with Pony's op while Scuba plays deep down long C. They're kind of giving Garage and just allowing the op to be what gets things done, but it has been darted by the drone of Gangsta, and so the setup is kind of known at this point. Now Scuba's in kind of a tough spot because Pony's having to worry about multiple things at once, and he's kind of stranded here in Closet, but it seems like he will avoid issue as DSG makes a pivot here towards the A side, but this is where the bulk of the Oxygen defense is located, including the lockdown, which once they start feeling some pressure, they could drop it and force DSG back and kill the clock.
And there is the opportunity for Scuba on a quick rotation in some form, whether that be the pinch or the flank, or just to reinforce the site with his from the shadows. So that could be his exit call to get out of this position if needed. DSG just silently walking in. Isolation in the corner. No, it's
30
Oxygen who
seconds
get the first 3 kills, as you
Spike
mentioned.
down.
It's all about
Last player
having this
standing.
setup where all of Oxygen's defense was ready for an A hit, and they provide. Clear the last one left. Op is down in front of him. Spike also inside the dark cover, but Oxygen do not want to let him live. There's the flash, and Clear will be taken down. It's a flawless coming through for the side of Oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, DSG just had no information on A at all. I mean, they spent their Owl Drone at Garage, finding the Jet on C site, so when it came to actually coming into the A hit, they really didn't have much other than just having full long A control and not spotting anything sewers, but it was just kind of a funneled attack into like a crazy crossfire setup from Oxygen, so it was just a matter of not having the intel they needed. And again, DSG, it's worth noting, they lost all 4 Haven games they played with their old lineup in the mid-season face-off and in the first split, and it seems like their Haven woes continue here with the new roster.
Lots of pre-fire will funny reconsider this aggressive op angle. Fault line as well will further him off, as that will get disguised in towards Garage with some noise,
You
though.
should run.
And there's the lockdown immediately to follow. Defense still in position. Rustin just over the top of the ledge. Is going to get one flashed out. Rustin, oh my goodness, a double from him. Mitch getting the third and fourth. And well, the lockdown gets chewed up, no worries. And Clear finds himself in another very dangerous situation, 1v4.
I mean, these rounds haven't even been close, Shift, if we're being honest. I mean, there hasn't really been much win conditions for DSG. I mean, this has been rough. I mean, the only one that they got was when they got the instant 2 kills from Clear's ult in the back line and countering a mid push. I mean, so basically the only round that they have gotten is one that was kind of handed to them by Oxygen, maybe overextending a little bit at middle. So when they've had to create their own opportunities, they have not really been able to find much.
Alarm bot.
Not as of yet. It just feels like it's the game plan that it doesn't even have a chance to even come together, let alone be executed in a lot of these full buy rounds. Again, some of it was measured in those first 6 rounds because of the economical decisions that were made. It's just part of the byproduct.
You also have to wonder, like, how much did DSG get to prep the entire map pool with 2 new players in probably a short amount of time. You know, again, Haven was already on the weaker end of their map pool as it was, so that could be part of it as well. And again, the economy problem has been their main issue. This is their, what, 4th save this half?
Yeah, or 4th or 5th when if you want to consider things like light buys with the Marshals and the Stingers that we've seen. So
sure. Scuba way downtown here at C, giving a lot more flexibility for the rest of the defense.
Oh, and he hears a lot of that too, so.
Nice nano there to slow down the Garage control. They have a great read of the situation here defensively.
Aldrone to clear. Will not see much of anything. But yeah, even though he gained control over Garage, will actually back up trying to stack for something. And they're going to join Nerve at Sewer. And the problem is there are 2 members already set up and a 3rd on the way. I mean, again, Oxygen just have such a solid read on
Deja vu from a couple of rounds ago.
Yep. And all of a sudden they feel that the door is closed. Nanostorm once again slows things up. It actually delays the paranoia play that was coming out. So now the execute from Disguise is going to be even that much more empty-handed. Shots coming out. Rustin. Oh my goodness. Where did Rustin come from? And how do we see more of it? Because he has been unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Rustin's a guy who was a former Oxygen Academy player, also played with the ex-Flickbaiters crew, was mostly a Sentinel player with some Initiators and Sage and Viper thrown into the mix. So again, he's kind of one of those guys that, like some of these other players, like came from the Academy system that Oxygen had, and so didn't really play much at the VCT level or at bigger tournaments, mostly at smaller events, but I mean, he has stepped up big time as a sub here. Him and Mitch leading with 14 frags apiece. And they are crushing Disguise right now.
Night, night.
Oh, dude,
boy.
Come on. How
It
much
just-
worse can it get? Like,
I know.
when it rains, it pours on Haven, bro. Holy cow. And this is their finally get another buy. Just 2 people off the board immediately. Holy cow, man.
It just feels like that's just the way this half has gone.
Feels like this match's already over, bro. I hate to say it. Like, I mean, but we're about to see 10-1 defensively on Haven.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, Ye is going to try to sneak his way in. Verno watching. Mitch nearby. Spike going to be planted. Still the lurk here out of Nerve.
There's a
HP,
chance.
though. There is a chance. Oh, maybe not anymore. Ye misses his window. Gangsta tries to back up, and he's going to have to defend this with the Hunter's Fury. He's already popped it very early. Wait, actually, it does connect onto one. Tags a second. Nerve trying to get into play, but Gangsta does get two. On the cross now. Pony in trouble. Mitch going to try to hold for the defuse. Gangsta has to check this. Mitch is still sticking, and oh boy. Just when you thought maybe there was a chance.
There wasn't.
Last round before
Apparently
the
not.
Finishing your sentence, yeah.
Yeah.
There was a moment. Those Hunter's Fury frags certainly gave you some hope. Pony goes down as well. I mean, that is just a little bit of misfortune on the DSG side of things there. Just an op shot over the top of a smoke for a collat. Like, I mean, hard to plan for that one. Almost can't blame him for that round, really.
Yeah.
But still, Oxygen is just on cruise control.
Scanning ahead.
Final round of the half. Lots of ults in play. Both Rolling Thunders available. Pony once again up top. He's got Scuba working with him. And Scuba's going to work right into his own dark cover, but Nerve shuts him down. Rolling Thunder on the way out. Does boop up. Yay. Pony's also affected by this. Good help from Rusted. Keeps his jet alive a little while longer. Second Rolling Thunder in, but Nerve trying to force his way through the site. And it will work out for DSG with Clear and Steel getting the final two picks. 10-2, the half scores. We swap the sides.
Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, only getting 2 rounds, but hey, at least they closed out the best they could. I mean, again, it started with them struggling on that C garage push of the judge of Rustin and then getting clutched on in a 2-on-1 versus Mitch. I mean, that's how the half kicks off. Rarely were able to get full buy rounds going. I mean, again, their economy was in tatters for the bulk of the half. That certainly hurt. Again, Haven's always been on the weaker side of their map pool. They got 2 new players, limited practice. Like, you could try to name as many factors that you can as to why DSG would be struggling this much, but in reality, we have to just give props to, first of all, Rustin killing it as a sub right now.
Yeah.
And just Oxygen continuing the momentum that they had from the rest of challengers. I mean, they've been one of the, at least top 5 teams out of the 12 that have been competing in it.
Yep. I mean, it was something that we always kind of had a feeling about, but it was definitely proved during the face-off.
Indeed.
Oxygen looking to get heavy-handed over towards A early. All 5 members stacking. Defensively, Ye in position. Nice first shot comes out. Also steps away from the fault line, but the Paranoia does at least give some clearance here for Oxygen to move forward. But Ye Gangsta still good. The Scuba drops, and the defense now in place to push Oxygen aside.
I mean, this is a round that DSG just needed for survival, not really even getting back in the game quite yet. But hey, at least this is a nice first step if they can finish this thing off. Nice opening sequence there from Gangsta and Ye to shut down the A attack. Pivot, though. The spike will plant C. There's no doubt about it. But obviously, DSG will have the huge edge on the retake. Heck, Mitch going down real low on health just to the turret watching the cross.
Got both Nano Swarms, an Aftershock, and a Recon Bolt. That's all that remains. And the Alarm Bot has been re-earned, but not really going to make too much of a difference here. Here comes the retake from DSG. Aftershock to try to delay. The only real hope that Oxygen have here would be killing off time. Fault lines in, Paranoia through. Here comes Disguised on their retake. Verno still holding on to the top box. Recon Bolt reveals a little bit, but Clear gets the first blood. Nano Swarms delay a little further. Rustin, Ghost in hand, only gets 1, probably needed at least 2. And yeah, 10 HP, Mitch going to be held from Ye, and Gangsta will secure this defuse. DSG take the pistol.
Yeah, a necessary one just to stay in contest, essentially. You feel like they lose that pistol, it is really GG. Now, if they can just cash in on a couple of rounds here, maybe they can start bringing it up to 10-4, 10-5, and put this thing back in the contest. Finally, nice to see A popping off and hitting a few shots. Definitely had a slow first half for what people, I'm sure, were expecting.
It's just one of those things. I mean, just to hit it again, they just didn't really have much of a chance to do too much on their executes. The plays were just largely stopped before they could even get going. So
yeah, that's very true. Again, like, not taking away at all from Oxygen. They had an impressive defense, but I do think this is a slower start than what DSG fans were expecting. When you sign someone like Ye, you're expecting big things.
Well, in this round, it's a huge arsenal bonus for DSG. Oxygen just trying to collect whatever resources they can with the orbs. Now they will try to stack. Maybe even try to go towards Nerve's direction here at Garage. He's not going to see too much. He's also got a lot of enforcement with the Sentry turret, plus also Nanostorm in front of him.
Yep, got that utility on B to detect the push there. Alarm Bot and Nano are on the site here as Oxygen are trying to just get this eco plant situation going. Smoke goes down on C-Link. Here comes the rest of utility. Nano, though, will slow them down from getting to the plant spot, and now the rotation comes in at both links for DSG.
Shock darts. Get a little connection here to Nerve. Wow, big connection on the Nerve, but Pony not able to land. So that leads to a first blood now for Disguise. Still, retake going to be required. Pinstripe goes to kill feed. Oxygen pushed off the site for now. Spike down. Crossplay comes out. Still back and forth affair, but it's just down to Verno with a classic and 65 HP. Right click actually does tag right there, but ultimately that is a very impossible situation to get through once the smoke clears, and so it will be 4-10. Disguise 2 in a row.
And now we get into the buy for Oxygen bonus for DSG. They did lose 3 players there, so that was a little bit more costly than they were probably hoping for. We are going to see Bulldog for Nerve, Phantom for Gangsta and Yay. Clear will take the Sheriff. Steel, not quite sure yet what he's going to be looking at. Looks like he will also just be looking at a pistol. So, yeah, this is a really, really weak bonus for DSG due to the losses they took in the previous round.
Yeah. Double aggression here from Disguised. Trying to come out in towards mid. And oh, Ye's in trouble. He actually gets body blocked a little bit by Steel there. Couldn't quite get through the doorway, and both members will drop, leading to a 5v3 for Oxygen early.
Yeah, you feel like DSG were trying to be proactive because they knew that they had the, lesser firepower in this round, coming in with the 2 Sheriffs, and they tried to get Ye set up for an aggressive pick, but instead it turns into an instant 5-on-3 for Oxygen, working themselves towards an 11th round here and nearing that map point. Wide open C side of the map, which Oxygen will slowly find out. There is a flank from Nerve through A. Depending on timing, maybe he can make something interesting happen here, but it seems like Oxygen are keeping their eyes on it.
Shots from Nerve, do tag. Hit towards C on the way. Defense does have a little bit of formidability here. Gangsta nearby. Still have Clear in the picture. Still holding onto his paranoia for retake purposes. Nerve actually does tally a kill on the entry. Hold on a second. Disguise are fighting this one back. Oh my goodness, are they ever? They flawlessly come back through a 3v5 retake? Oh, okay.
Really well done. I mean, Rustin obviously got the information, Nerve obviously got the information off the flank through long A and got some significant damage into Rustin. And they were able to, just work it together, pinching with that flank that wound up coming through Garage, catching Scuba through a smoke. That was pretty bonkers if we're honest. And then, yeah, they just kind of roll it out from there. So maybe a little bit of fortune on the smoke spam, but also just good coordination in a tight situation to pull something off. And now all of a sudden the game's back up for contest, man.
Yes, sir.
Just that quick.
Got just pistols and stingers coming out for Oxygen in this round. Disguised with the Hunter's Fury already earned. Going to be used very early on here. Gangsta trying to predict something down through mid, and this is all about trying to get Steel a little bit further out. And does get taken down by a stinger, so we stay 4v4 and a key ultimate off the table. But Oxygen still at a very significant disadvantage. Yay, taking away space.
No.
Oh no, indeed. Verno locks down A with a headshot onto Ye, and now all of a sudden this round becomes more contest heavy in a 4v3.
Also, Pony was able to pick up that Phantom off the Stinger, so he gets a weapon upgrade here out now in Verno's hands. Still Stinger for Mitch and Sheriff for Scuba. They're looking to knock on the door of the A site, which is where the bulk of the defense is at. But this Recon Bolt and Owl may at least be able to sniff it out and give them a read on what they're up against here. They hide from the Recon.
Clear needs to do more than just get the first. Paranoia's on both sides. Clear also flash, just furthering the vision impairment. But Clear still does well. It's 2 before dropping. Nerve now in a 1v2 situation. Spike being planted. Shots coming over towards the left side will miss. Nerve, flashback just a touch. This is such a tough way to get through, but that said, a lot of the post-plant utility for Oxygen is now gone. Oh, and nearly Nerve had an angle to get on the cross, but Mitch follows up, gets his third elimination, and Oxygen steal away around from Disguise with an eBay Thrifty.
Yeah, as soon as DSG gets something going, Oxygen then comes back with their own Thrifty to keep them well out in front. It's like DSG just can't really get any momentum going. And so now they obviously have to buy what they can to stop Oxygen from getting map point. And it's actually pretty solid. Ye has op rifles across the board. It's just clear on the Sheriff's really the only discrepancy. He has alt as well. Nerve just won off the lockdown.
Oh,
And there's the A we expect.
there, yep.
Really
First
didn't
blood.
expect them to have that issue in the last round with the op. And oh,
Dude, see you later.
Revealing area.
Verno has got
drone.
Ye's number. 2 rounds in a row, quick headshots against the sniper rifle.
Verno has been the most impressive initiator like of this challengers, I feel like, as far as like one you didn't know that popped out of nowhere.
It's a big shout.
He's
Premium
definitely
gas.
seems like that next Trent Derek type guy, you know what I mean?
Well, all of a sudden, this round becomes much more interesting here with Disguise looking to play retake. And they really don't have much to clear through C-Long. Rolling Thunder's going to get called out. That's going to stop the initial attempt for defuse. Nerve keeps Rustin at base. Needs to get the kill, though, and will not be able to secure it. Steel hopping on, hoping he can just hold it. But the kill's starting to come through. Time now, starting to take a little bit further, but did get to halfway. Clear. Needs to find one more pick, but no. Oxygen will provide the kills needed, and they get to map point.
Match point.
Indeed, they do. 7 chances to end this in regulation. A couple of alts are on the board for DSG. In fact, both teams have the same exact alts. DSG, though, a little bit worse for wear when it comes to firepower. Nerve having to go for Guardian, Bulldog for clear. There is a chance for Ye to maybe get a frag, get Blade Storm, and then pass this Vandal off to steal.
Has to be the play.
But, I mean, they have just really struggled to chain entries together to get something going.
Probably Ye's going to have to dash away. Alt line. Pulls them up. Rusted first blood. Makes the response. Ye very far forward. Needs to go huge and does provide with the double. But Rustin, again, keeps things level at a 2v2 situation with his 3rd kill to open up this round.
And keeps the spike in his possession and keeps the ability to get the lockdown in play.
Cover go.
It's all going to come down to Nerve here on the C site. Nano Swarm to try to slow things down, though, but that ult will force him to split his attention. They get the intel. They're able to start rolling in now. Gangsta on the flank, though.
Yeah.
One enemy
They
remaining.
line up! Okay. Nerve finds them both stacked in the corner and says, "What are y'all doing?"
Y'all having a little powwow over there?
What's going? What they doing over there?
Can I join? See ya. So a couple of doubles from Ye and Nerve will keep Disguise in the game. What a weird situation that was. I was almost wondering if Oxygen were trying to go Garage and like maybe go B or A or something through that, because they knew Nerve was on site. They knew that Gangsta was either going to be rotating back halls or rotating behind them. And then they just kind of get caught in no man's land there by a good peek by Nerve. He's had a hell of a game.
Yeah,
that's
for
one
real.
bright spot we can say about Disguise, and Gangsta too, looking pretty solid.
It's just you can see all the pieces, but they're not coming together to form the full puzzle, it feels like right now. Like you see exactly what Disguise was trying to do offensively. It just comes down to the simple fact of the matter in this, first half. We already kind of hit it out of the park here. It's the fact that the economical problems were plaguing them up until about round 8. And then they just kind of had some misfortune with things like the Mitch 1v2.
So basically, they've got all the dinosaurs, but they haven't been able to make the Megazord, is what you're telling me.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah,
If you
okay.
caught that reference, Chad, you're elite.
Hey, they just came out with the movie on Netflix where they all came back.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, you did not know about this? There's I think it's like Power Rangers Always or something. I can't remember the name of it. It's on Netflix now. Free ad, I guess, for them. A weird one, but
Oxygen looking to put this map out of reach. 12-6, the current tally. Blades for Pony. Everyone else on rifles. Nano Swarm makes things a little bit more interesting. As Ye, I think, has also pulled out the blades to try to counter in case he needs to jump on into the mix. Oxygen are in B, kind of. Haven't fully committed to this yet, but Pony is definitely going to be sticking here for a while.
I love how you put that. They're kind of in B. I mean, Pony is there. He does have blades out. The cavalry hasn't quite arrived, but now it does. But here comes the disruption from Disguise, looking to try to make some chaos happen. As Ye gets up top. He's got his... What is that?
The wrong
What was
knives.
he doing?
The wrong knives.
Wrong knives.
Aftershock does clear off the attempt for an early defuse. Lockdown in.
One enemy
And
remaining.
Verno just has them all pinned up. And Steel, he's going to get the pickaxe for round
Attackers
13.
win.
Goodness. I mean, there's a couple of great individual moments there in that last round. Most importantly, Pony getting that little cloud burst down completely foiled that retake attempt from Disguised, who really, unfortunately for them, just could not quite get things going on their full purchases again.
Yeah, that was a really awkward last round, if we're honest. I don't really know what happened there. I'm kind of still trying to figure it out. But yeah. Also, more importantly, it is Power Rangers Once and Always is the name of the movie on Netflix now. Again, bringing back the originals for some nice nostalgia trips. I mean, this was a wash from start to finish, really. I mean, Disguised struggled to really find their footing at any point in time in the game. Meanwhile, Oxygen played a textbook defense. Yeah. They had great stacks when, that they put them together. They had fantastic retakes when they were required. They out-fragged DSG from top to bottom. Yeah, just a phenomenal performance from them, really.
Yeah, it really is a flat-out map that can be classified as great, unbelievable team cohesion from Oxygen, brilliance from Rustin. But on the other side, I think for Disguise, you could probably just label the word unlucky on a number of the rounds that came through. Just due to the fact that, again, they just never really felt like they could really do what they wanted to do, thanks to plays from Rustin, thanks to things like collapse from Pony, stuff like that. Just like, oh god, I mean, what do we have to do here? Just give us.
And now
a break.
Oxygen has an 11-1 record on Haven for the year, so I mean, they are continuing to show some dominance on that map in particular. But Disguise has Pearl coming up next, and this is a map that they were very powerful on last time around. I mean, they were 5-0 until M80 beat them in week 4 of the first split, and M80, of course, being the #1 team in the region right now. So this is an opportunity for them to fight back and see if they can keep the series going.
Have to see something, not just from the Disguise team, but I think all the fans that are out there are saying, can we get Ye to go even? We'll find out. We'll swap things over to a break. Bach will come back with us to give us his thoughts, and then we'll be in Pearl for map number 2. It's Challengers, baby. Don't go far.
Yo, check it out. Want to know if the price of those Wave Runners is too good to be true? Or if I Wear My Kicks 49 is truly selling dead stocks? Or if that Jordan 1 Royal Box is original? eBay checks. See that little blue check mark? Behind it is a team of independent authenticators who check. And we mean everything. Every tongue, check. Every toe box, check. Every corner of every box, check, 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 check. Every logo, every label, every lace loop. Yeah, it's checked. The luster of the leather, the topography on the tags, to the straightness of the stitching on the sole. Everything you can see, and even some things you can't.
Really?
Then they tag them, log them in the system, box them up, and ship them out, with no cost for the buyer or seller. eBay checks, so the moment you open that box is as real gets.